Hi guys, welcome back. This is the lecture 6 of HTML complete course. In this video we are going to discuss about tables and lists in HTML. We all have used tables or lists at least somewhere, at least once in our life. Lists can be your grocery lists, your to-do lists or whatever. And tables basically representing the data in tabular form, that is rows and columns. So we are going to see how we can add tables and lists into our HTML web page. Okay, so without any further delay, let's just jump right into it. HTML tables basically, as we just discussed, helps us to represent the data in tabular form, that is using rows and columns. Okay, so now first we need to define an HTML table. We need to tell our HTML server that we are starting to write the details of the table now. How do we do this? First, to write a table, we have to use table tag. The table tag indicates that now we are going to start a table. Anything that will be between table and slash table will be only for the table contents. Okay, so now I have told by doing this step, make sure I have told the web document or web page that I'm creating a table. Now I need to define the contents of the table. What is gonna be in the table, right? So how we do that is, I have something known as table row, tr. The tr element is basically table row. Okay, so every time I write the tr element, I am defining that this is a new row. I need to close this row. If after that I write it again, that means I'm writing another row. Okay, and each table cell is defined by td or table data, you can say. It stands for table data. We need to write it as td and then slash td. Whatever is in this will be the content of the individual cell of a table. Got it? So if now let's make a very basic table. Okay, for example, let's say table, and then we are writing tr that starts the table row, and then in this table row, first cell will contain, let's say, Lauren. The second cell will be Jenny. The third cell will be Dan. Okay, like this, and then I'll write slash tr and then slash table. Okay, for td also we need to close it, slash td. Okay, so now this will give me an output of, I'll have one row of the table. Yeah, oh sorry, wait, I'll just create it using shapes only. So this is the output that I'll get, which will be divided into three parts. One will be Lauren, the other one is going to be Jenny, and the last one is going to be Dan. So this is the output. Now if I want to add more rows, I can add them using more tr, and td defines the number of columns. Since I used 3 tds, as you can see, I've got 3 columns. Okay, if I use 4 tds, if I write another td, it will create another cell, and hence I'll have 4 columns. Okay, so this is the basic way of creating a table. It can contain all sorts of HTML elements. This is text, right? But in this same cell, I can add links if I want to. I can add images if I want to. I can even add lists, which we are going to study further. In fact, I can also add tables in a cell itself. So a table cell can contain all sorts of HTML data. Now each table row, as we discussed, starts with tr and ends with slash tr. Okay, tr stands for table row, td stands for table data that we just discussed. Okay, stands for table data. Now we can have as many rows as we like. We just need to make sure that the number of cells in each row should be same. For example, I wrote tr and 3 times I wrote td, right? So in the next row also, if I make another row, I should only have 3 tds. I should not have 4 in the next row. Now there might be times when I want a row can have less or more cells than the other rows, right? We are going to learn about this, how to do that in the later chapters, okay? Like in this lecture only, but later. Now table header. What does table header means? So sometimes we create tables, right? For example, let's say if I have to differentiate between tr and td. Okay, so I'm going to create a table in which one side I'm going to write all the points for tr and the other side I'm going to write all the points for td. Okay, now tr and td are not exactly the contents, they are headings, right? So this is exactly what table headers do. If I want, I can create the first row as headings. How can I do that? I can add headings wherever I want. But of course, usually we write headings only in the first row, right? So instead of td, I can write th. Th stands for table header. So basically here I can write, let's create another table now. First we are going to write the table tag, then we are going to write tr, after that I'm going to write th name, and then th age, and then slash tr. Slash th. We also need to close the th tag and then slash th. After that I'm going to start another row in which I'm going to write td Jenny slash td and td 22 slash td. Okay, so this will give me a table where I have headings and I have the content. So like this. So here I'll have name, here I'll have age as the heading, and then Jenny, and then 22. Okay, the heading is always in the center, the table header is always in the center and it's bold. Usually the cell content starts from its left aligned, but headers are always in the center and they are bold. Okay, so I hope till now everything is clear. Now in this I have made 3 rows, but our table only creates 2 rows, so I can add another one and then add the data, and that will be here. Okay, so this is the basics about table. Now in an HTML document we can create a table. We are going to code this separately in a along with a worksheet solution videos, but for now let's just understand the concepts. Okay, so I hope this is clear. If you want, you can program it and see that you can now make a basic table in your web page. Okay, so let's move further. Table borders. Now what if I have to add various table borders, right, to make it more visually appealing, to basically improve the appearance? I can add border. Now for adding the border, we use the CSS border property, which we have already studied. Just we are now going to use it for table. Earlier we were using it for contents, text, images, etc. Now we are going to use it for table. Okay, we can add it on the table itself, or we can add it on the table heading and table data individually. Okay, now let's see. So if I add on table th and td, all of them together, right? For example, I have my table, then I have my th and td. I'm gonna set the border to 1 pixels solid black. This is the way of writing. We discussed this in the earlier videos where I explained border. It's the same border CSS property that we are using here. Okay, now if I'm writing like this, so it may collapse. For example, first we'll get the table border individually. Like first we only get the table border. After that we have also said that we want the border for table heading, so we'll get separate borders for table heading. Then we will get separate borders for table data. So it might look collapsed. Okay, we don't want that. So we can simply set, there's this property known as border collapse. So after setting the border, we can write border collapse is collapse. Once we do that, the above example only will get a table like this, simple table. Okay, so border collapse, when set to collapse, we won't get a table like this one, a table like this one. Okay, so here only after setting the border, I can write border collapse and then collapse. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now how can we style these table borders or tables in general? I can set background color for each cell. How I can set it? I can simply write td in the style attribute or in external CSS or using inline CSS, whatever you prefer. I can simply set the property background color is equal to, let's say, blue. It will give me blue background for each cell individually. Okay, I am using hex representation. We discussed about the various representations including RGBA, hex and normal. So this is how you can do it. You can simply write blue here, whatever you prefer. Okay, and I can accordingly change my background color, border color also. Here instead of black, I can write whatever color I want. Instead of solid, I can write dotted, etc, etc. Instead of 1px, I can write 2px, 3px, and whatever the width I want. Now there's another property known as border radius. Now what does border radius do? What if I don't want a square border? In fact, like, we'll use images for this. Just a second. Yeah, so instead of square, instead of this, I want that my border is actually turned from here. For this is one example, right? Now what if instead of this I want something like this? Okay, so basically I want that it's like this from here, then like this from here. So I can set the border radius for that. Instead of wanting a square border, if I want kind of an oval border, to get this I can set the border radius to whatever I want. For, let's say, for example, 10 pixels. So it will give me something like this. Okay, then I can skip the border around table entirely, because if I don't add the border, it's not gonna add itself. It's gonna be implemented properly with a proper alignment like a table, but without the border. The border won't be there. It will be like this. So I need to add the border. If I don't add the border around table, let's just say I added the border around table header and table data only, then it will appear like this. This is what my table will look like. Okay, so I need to add the border for in table using CSS so that it looks like a table. Now there are many different types of border I can add, like dotted, which will give me something like this. Then there's dashed, which is something like this. Okay, then there is solid that we have already discussed. Then there's a double border like this. Then there is groove, ridge, inset, outset. There are so many different types of. Inset is something like, it looks a little darker here and then lighter like this. Outset is the opposite. It looks darker on these two sides and lighter here. So there are many different types of borders that I can hide. I can also write none and hidden to avoid borders all over. And similarly, we can set the border color. Okay, now let's discuss about various types of table sizes. Of course, I can change the size of the entire table using the width and height attribute, quite similar to the images. But what if I want that my one row is smaller? Like, for example, I have a table. So I want here I have serial number, which is comparatively smaller. Then I have this is something like description, and then this is yes or no. So I want this to be of different size, this to be of different size, and this to be of different size. So we can also create something like this. How will we do that? Okay, so let's get started. Firstly, to basically make any changes in the appearance, we are using style only. Okay, so of course style attribute only we can use. Using style, I can change the overall width by adding style to the table style is equal to, and then I can set the width to whatever I like, for example 100%. Okay, then this will change the entire width. Using percentage will determine how wide this will be as compared to its parent element. For example, table comes under body, right? So body is the parent element of table. Okay, so if I'm setting 100%, that means 100% of the body. Okay, similarly 50% of the body element. And now if I set t tr style is equal to width 50%, that means the 50% of table tag, because in this case table becomes the parent. Got it? So this is how we can change the width of the entire table. Now to change the width of a particular column, we need to add style attribute to that particular column. For example, even if I added in one case only, for example we wrote the code here for so here I can add style is equal to width and let's say 70%. Okay, now for the entire row it will become 70%. The name will be 70% and the age will be remaining. So instead of this, now I'll get a table like this, where my name is 70% and my age is 30%. Okay, so I need not set it for every first cell of the row. I can just set it for one. Like if I set it for name, all the names will be automatically adjusted. Got it? So I need to set it for the first row only. Got it? Now for the row height, again I can simply write it for a particular row. For example, here if I write it, then it will give me the height for a particular row. Okay, I mean I can change the height for a particular row. For example, if I write table row here, instead of this style is equal to width 70%, instead of writing here I write it here. Okay, what will happen? My first row will become 70%, like this, something like this, and here name, age, and then Jenny and 22. So this will be my table if I change the width of the table row. Okay, so I hope this was clear. Now table headers can be for column or row, or for n number of columns and n number of rows, whatever we want, right? For example, sometimes you might have seen a table, you might have seen a table where it's like this, and then the heading is common. Sorry, it became a slanting table, but okay, the heading is common like this. I'm writing something, for example, let's say January, and then it's divided. Okay, so this can be also a table heading. Or I can want, if I'm making a timetable, I like, you remember those timetables, Monday, Tuesday, and then here is the time, 8 a.m, 9 a.m. So again, this is also header, this is also header. So there are many different types of headers, right? Table headers are defined with th. We have already discussed this. Each th element represents one table cell. Okay, now we have seen how to add a basic table header. What if I want to add the vertical table headers? The basic one which we saw was for horizontal, for header of the row. What if I need to add the vertical tailor headers, right? How can a table header, sorry, vertical table headers, how can I add that? For adding vertical table headers, I need to make the first element of each row a table header. for example, let's create a table with vertical table headers. Okay, for example, first we are going to create a table with the table tag, then we are going to write tr, which is the table row. After that we are going to write table heading, let's say first name. Okay, after that /th, then td, which will be Jenny, /td, then that's it for now, /tr. Okay, now I'm gonna start another row whose heading I want it to be age. Okay, so /th. Okay, as you can see, I've again wrote th. For every row, the first element is gonna be a th, and then td, which will be 22/td. After that, I can start another table row where I can write table heading as gender /th, and td will be female. So again I have written th, okay, as the first. Instead of td, I have written th as the beginning of the row. Okay, so now what will be the output of this? I'll get a table. Okay, this will be the first row, like this. We haven't added stylings and there are only 2 elements, so it will be 50-50 only. Just a second. Oh god. Sorry guys, bear with the slanting tables. Like this. So first we'll have name, age, and then gender. These all are going to be of equal sizes only. Jenny, 22, and female. Okay, so this is how the table will be displayed. Here these will be the headings and these will be the normal text. Okay, now moving on to the next topic, I can align table headers. We discussed that by default the table headers are bold and centered. However, if I want, I can change the align to left or right. However, I like using the text align property. Text align left or right, whatever I want. Okay, then header for multiple columns, how to do that? Okay, for example, I want to create a table like this. Please be a normal square, thank you. Okay, so here, and then I want to create a table where this is name, which is further divided into first name and last name, and this is age. Okay, so as you can see, I want name to be a combined header. Okay, how can I do that? For this we use a property, an attribute of th element known as call span is equal to 2 in this case. So call span attribute basically tells for how many cells the heading will be for. So there's another known as row span. Call span, row span we are going to see in detail later, but for now let's just understand. In this lecture only we are going to see in detail, but I hope this is clear. If I'm writing th call span is equal to 2, this will be the output of that. It will cover 2 cells. Okay, so this is how we can do that. And then there's another thing known as table caption, which will basically be a small caption written here above the table telling what the table is about. Okay, to add this, first we'll write the table tag, we'll start the table tag. After that I can write caption, whatever my caption is, and then /caption, and then I'm going to continue with tr. Okay, so caption, it will give a small caption here, which will basically be the what my table is about. Okay, and then I can start my table. Now let's discuss another thing known as padding and spacing. Okay, padding, or before that let's discuss call span and row span. So we have discussed the basic thing about call span. We know what call span is, right? Let's discuss it in detail. So if basically value of call span will represent, this is important, okay, please note it down, it represents the number of columns to span, as the name suggests, right? Number of columns to span, that is represented by call span. Okay, Row span similarly represents the number of rows to be spanned. Now if I am using row span, then what will happen? I saw the example of column span, I got a result like this. Now using row span, I'll get something like, let's say I have here I have name and phone, but someone can have two numbers, right? So the name will be Jenny and mobile numbers I want to add 2, so I can add 2 numbers. So here, as you can see, it won't be actually the same size. Wait, I'll create a better example, just a second. Yeah, okay, so this is my first row, this is my second row, this is my third row. Okay, let's look at these 3 rows. So my first will be name, first content, and then here Jenny, and then here a phone number, and then here another phone number, and here I want to write phone number for both, right? So I can do that by writing, this is what it's gonna look like, phone. How can I write that? By writing row span is equal to 2. Where do I need to write that? Where I am writing th phone, I'll just write row span is equal to 2. So first I'll write th as name, and then slash th, and then td as Jenny, and then slash td, and then t slash tr, after that tr, and then my next heading is gonna be phone, where I'm gonna write th row span is equal to 2, and then I'm gonna write phone, and then slash th, after that td, and then slash tr. Note this is important, I'm gonna write one td only here. After that, I'm gonna create another row in which I'm gonna only write td, because th is already covered. Row span is equal to 2. So for this data, I need to create another row, because this is another row, right? So that's how we are gonna write it. And after that, slash tr, and then slash table. Okay, so this is how we use row span and col span. Now table styling we have already discussed, but there are a lot more things we can do. For example, if you want the zebra stripes effect, that is your first row is of some color or no color, and then the second row is of color or a different color. Okay, so we can basically style every table row element. Okay, how can we do this? For this, there is a selector, you need to remember this, nth child, and then even. If I write like this, all my even rows, whatever the styling I apply will apply to all the even rows. For example, tr, then colon, nth child even. So even rows, all the styling will apply. So I can write background color will be red, and it will apply to all the even rows. Okay, again, if I use odd instead of even, all the odd rows. Similarly, I can apply vertical also. To apply vertical like this will give me a result like this. Okay, wait, oh god, yeah, oh god, just a second guys, let's create a table. Meanwhile, if you want, you can try it out yourself, the code, to check it out. So let's say I have 2 rows only. If I write even, it will give me the color red for second row. Okay, so this will be of red color. Similarly, if I write odd, this will be of red color, 1, 3, 5, and so on. Okay, so this is the concept of what we just wrote. This is the output of what we just wrote. Now what if I want the vertical things to be affected? What if I want the vertical data to be affected? How can I do that? Like instead of the columns, I want that this area, oh god, that this area is red and this area, if I write odd. How can I do that? To write this, I need to apply the same style we learned Just instead of tr, I'll apply it on td or th, okay, and then I'll get the desired output, where if I write odd, this will be red, and if I write even, this will be red. Okay, we can even combine the horizontal and vertical things, horizontal and vertical data, horizontal and vertical styling, to create an overlapping effect if we want. Okay, now if I want to specify the borders, for example, I only want horizontal borders, so I can specify the borders only on tr instead of specifying it on the entire table, or specifying it on td. Okay, then there's another feature, another attribute, which is hover. What does this mean? This means that when my mouse is on a particular row, I can help change the color of that particular row. We are gonna see the practical example of this in the lecture 6 worksheet solution video. We are gonna see the practical example of this, but if you want to see it right now, you can go check it out on W3 Schools. In W3 Schools tables, in HTML, in tables, you can go check it out. They have given a very great example of this. In that, if you click on, not even click, if your mouse is on this particular row, then this particular row will turn blue and the rest of the rows will remain their original color. So how can we do that? For the row I want to change, I want this to happen, tr then colon hover, and then I can just write background color. Then for my entire row, hover basically means the mouse is on that row. This feature is only used for this purpose only, not just for tables. We can use it for other things also, which we are going to learn later in CSS. So when my mouse is on that particular row, the color will be blue. Okay, so this was about styling. Now there's another thing known as call group. Now what does this mean? For example, if I want to style the first two elements of the first two columns of the table only, how can I do that? To do this, we can use the call group element, which is basically used as a container for what we have specified. Each group is specified with a call element. The span attribute specifies how many columns. Then the style attribute specifies the style. We'll understand this with an example. Okay, for example, I write a table. How we are going to write it? Let's see. Table, after that call group. Okay, then call. In this I'm going to write call span is equal to 2, and then style, whatever styling I want to apply. For in this case, we'll see an example for background color as blue. After that, we'll close the call group, and then tr. We are gonna start writing our rows. So tr, th, Monday, let's say, and then Tuesday, and so on. Okay, th, Tuesday, and then so on. It continues till Sunday. Okay, so now I'll get this is what I'll get, right? Oh god, wait, we'll create only one row. Okay, just a second, guys. If you want, meanwhile, you can definitely implement it in the web page. You just have to write the code I'm explaining. We are also gonna see the coding together. Yeah, so I'll get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday till Sunday, and only the Monday and Tuesday part will be blue because we have set the span to 2. Call span is equal to 2, and then style is equal to background color blue. So therefore these two will be blue, the rest will be simple. Okay, so this is how I can style only 2 columns if I want to. Okay, now if I want to style more columns with different style, I can, as we just discussed, I can use this as many number of times. For example, I want Monday and Tuesday to be in blue color, then I want Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to be in red color. So col span is equal to 3 and then background color red. Then I'll get these two as blue, then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday would be in red color. And similarly, I can decide the color for Saturday and Sunday. So here in col group, I can add however col I want. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Again, if you want to style columns in the middle of the table inside an empty col element with no style, so I can basically just same thing only. I can decide whatever I want for my col span. Like for example, I directly want to add Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't want to add Monday and Tuesday. So I can first divide them into like col span is equal to 2 and add no style here. So this is for Monday and Tuesday which has no style. After that I can add col span is equal to 3. Okay, because if I add col span is equal to 3 directly, it will give to Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. I want for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I'll add a col span is equal to 2 which will contain no styling, and that will be for Monday, Tuesday. Then I'm going to add col span is equal to 3, background color is equal to red, which will be for my Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. In that case, there will be nothing applied to Monday and Tuesday, but there will be something applied to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Similarly, if I want to hide certain columns, I can use a visibility attribute. Again, col span is equal to 2 and then style is equal to visibility, and visibility, in visibility I'll have to write collapse. Now what does this mean? This will simply hide the columns. So I'll only get Monday, Tuesday, I won't get Monday, Tuesday. I'll only get Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Okay. Similarly, if I want to apply this for Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, so I can write col span is equal to 2 and nothing, and then this for Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. So I'll get Monday, I'll get Tuesday, I won't get Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then I'll get Saturday and then I'll get Sunday. So I hope this is clear. This was pretty much all about the col span attribute, the table col group. One last topic that is left for tables is padding and spacing. So now we are just going to discuss that, padding and spacing. Okay. So padding and spacing basically is for, if I want my table to look something like, let's say this is my table border, then I want first cell to be like this, second cell to be like this, then third cell to be like this, and fourth cell. So this extra space, okay, this is spacing. Now how do we do that? First let's look into padding. Padding is the space between cell edges and cell content. So for example, in this is spacing, right? This is clear. Now in this particular cell only, my content is, let's say, here, high. So this space is known as padding, and this space between two different cells is known as spacing. Okay, now let's look at padding. As we just discussed, it's the space between cell edge and cell content. Okay, space between the edge on the content for one particular cell. So by default the padding is 0. Okay, default padding is 0. Now to add padding, we use the CSS padding property. Okay, I can simply write, for example, TD, then padding is equal to 15 pixels, let's say. So it will add 15 pixels space from all of it, like top, left, right, bottom. Now to add, let's say I just want that from the top it should be 15 pixels, and from the bottom, left and right, I don't want any space. So instead of padding, I can use padding top. Okay, similarly padding bottom, left and right. These are, as the name suggests, to specify padding from the top, from the bottom, from the left, from the right. or for overall I can use padding 15 pixels. Okay, this is about padding. The last concept for tables, that is spacing. Now spacing is the space between each cell. This is spacing. To add spacing, I need to use the border spacing property, and this will be for the entire table. Okay, so if I set border spacing for the entire table as 30 pixels, I'll get my table something like this. Okay, and by default the padding is set to 0, but the spacing is by default 2 pixels. Okay, this is all about tables. Now we can create, style and do various other things with tables in HTML. So let's continue. Let's move on to the next topic. The next topic that I told you we are going to discuss in this lecture itself is lists. Now there are two types of lists in HTML, two basic types of lists. One of them is unordered and the other one is ordered. What does this mean? To get a basic idea, unordered is basically like the bullet type of lists, or you create lists using asterisks sometimes, right? These types of lists are unordered lists. However, ordered lists you write like 1, 2, 3, 4 or A, B, C, D. These come under ordered lists. Okay, so this is a basic idea of what is an unordered list and what is an ordered list. Now let's see how we can create an unordered list and an ordered list. First, let's look at unordered list. To create an unordered list in HTML, I use UL tag. Okay, UL stands for expands to unordered list. Okay, unordered list. Okay, so first I'll create UL. As soon as I write UL, that means I've created an unordered list. After that, I'm going to write LI. LI expands to list item, then coffee, then slash LI, then LIT. Okay, slash LI, and then slash UL. Now this has created a basic list which will give me coffee tea. This is what will be the output of the list I have just created. Similarly, if I write OL here instead of UL, I'll get coffee and tea like this. Okay, there's another type of lists. These are the two basic lists, but there's a third type of list known as description lists. We are going to look at it after first we are going to understand UL and OL in detail. So unordered lists, as we just discussed, unordered list starts with the UL tag. LI is to add the items in list. Okay, the list items will be marked with bullets by default like this. This is the default list, how list items will show. If I want, I can change this to a circle. This is known as disk. Okay, this is disk type. If I want, I can change it to circle like this. This is circle. I can also set it to square, or I can set it to none. Okay, these are the four types I can decide from in unordered list. Okay, now how can I decide this? We are going to write UL and then style is equal to, the property that we have to use here is list, style and type. Very simple, list, style and type. Okay, then by default it's disk only, as we just discussed. So like this we can decide it. Here instead of disk I can write circle, square or none. Got it? Then we have LI, LI, LI. Okay, where we can add the various list items. So we can also create a list within a list. For example, I want to write UL, then LI coffee. Now inside coffee I want to display hot or cold. So here I can start another list. Okay, and in that list I can write another. Here I can start an ordered list also if I want, but for now I'm starting an unordered list only. Hot and then cold. Okay, slash LI, then slash UL, and then I'm gonna continue my previous list. Okay, so it will give me something like coffee, then hot, cold, and then tea. This is what nested list looks like. Okay, now what if I want to create a horizontal list? Now HTML lists can be styled in various different ways if I want. The most common of it is to style it in a horizontal way. Now to create a list in horizontal way, or we can say a navigation menu kind of, we are gonna basically create UL, and then we are gonna write several attributes for the various lists. For example, or we'll discuss this in CSS. It will be easier to discuss it in CSS when we have once discussed div tag and various CSS attributes. So this can be a good question if you want to program yourself. You can try to create a horizontal list, but we are going to discuss this later in CSS. Okay, after that we have our ordered list. Now what are ordered lists? Ordered lists we just discussed. Instead of bullets, squares, circles, etc., we can write numbers, alphabets. So it starts with OL. It's very similar to the syntax is very similar, just instead of UL I have to write OL. Now what are the different types here? I can write one. If I write type, the list style type is set to 1. Now in UL we write list style type, but in OL we can directly write type. OL type is equal to 1. So if I'm writing like this, the list will start with 1. Okay, this is by default. Then we have A. Then my list will start with capital A, small a. Then if I write capital I, the list will start with uppercase Roman numbers. Again, if I write small I, the list will start with lowercase Roman numbers. Okay, now we can also control the list counting. For example, I want numbers only, but I want the numbers to start from 50. So I can write OL start is equal to 50. So the list will start from 50, 51, 52 and so on. Okay, similarly for Roman and alphabets I can do the same. For if I set the start to a particular number or a particular alphabet. Okay, now moving on, again in ordered list also we can create nested order lists if we want, quite similar to this one we created here. Instead of, by default the type is 1, so here we are going to do that. So it will be 1, then 1, 2 and then 2. Okay, this is how it's going to look. Now lastly, let's discuss description list. So description lists, basically we can write let's see the output first, and then we are going to write the code for it. For example, I write coffee, and then I want to add this description, my favorite drink. Okay, then tea, I don't know how people drink it. So this is the description we are going to add. Okay, for such kind of lists we use description list, basically where each list item needs to have a description. So how do we create it? Description lists start with the DL tag. For unordered we used UL, for ordered we used ordered list, for description we are using description lists. Okay, DL. So DL tag defines that it's gonna be a description list. Then DT is gonna define the name of the first element which we are going to describe about, right? For example, in this case coffee. Then we'll have something known as DD, which will be the description. Okay, so DT stands for the term name, and then DD stands for the description. So DT is the description term, DD is the description, basically describing it. Okay, so DD, here I am gonna write my favorite drink and then slash DD. After that I'm gonna write T is the next item, so T and then slash DT and then DD, the list, I don't know how people drink it, slash DD, then finally slash DL. So this will give me this output. Okay, So I hope lists were clear to you all. In the next lecture, we are going to discuss about block and inline elements. But before the next lecture, please see the revision video of this lecture, as well as please solve the worksheet of this lecture. Thank you for watching, and I know this was a long lecture, but we are about to, like, not about to finish, but in the next few lectures we are gonna finish HTML completely, and we also have to learn and see the solution of worksheet lectures. So we are gonna do that. Hope you enjoyed the lecture. See you next time. Bye bye.